Got all three of us for the NL Central. We got to talk about the Cardinals, Brewers, Cubs, Reds, Pirates. We got to talk about Yu Darvish signing an $100+ million extension that'll pay him through his age 42 season. Preller at it again, baby. Jack, Aram, Peter, just baseball show rounding out the week on Friday, February 10th. Last time you hear baseball conversation before the Kansas City Chiefs win the Super Bowl. Before any of the baseball stuff, though, Aram has a bone to pick with Peter about the grades for the NL East. What say you, Mr. Layton?
Yeah, give it to me.
Yeah. Okay. I have a question. How did the Atlanta Braves have a better offseason than the Philadelphia Phillies?
So when I was thinking about it, obviously the Trey Turner move makes a lot of sense. But remember, we were looking at each individual deal. And I thought that possibly the best deal between all of these two teams was the Braves getting Sean Murphy. Because objectively, I think he's a top 5 catcher in the game. I thought it was also a little bit of a weakness. And while the Trey Turner move and Trey Turner might be better next year, which move, I guess, would you rather have for the specific move?
I'd rather have the top 5 player in baseball.
Yeah, I'd rather
Trey Turner's not a top 5 player in baseball.
I'd rather have a $300 million shortstop that can win a batting title and swipe 40 bags.
Yeah, and I guess that's fair, where Trey Turner is a better player than Sean Murphy is. I also liked a lot more of the moves that the Braves did on the margins, whether it be through their relief options instead of getting a guy like Craig Kimbrell. I didn't like the Taijuan Walker deal. There was a lot more deals that I didn't necessarily like that the Phillies did. While they made bigger and splashier moves, I liked the Joe Jimenez move better than anyone that the Phillies added to their bullpen. I love the Nick Anderson move. I liked a lot of the moves better than the Phillies moves.
So might I just say, when Peter and I were having this conversation, right?
I listened to the episode, by the way. That's why I was itching so hard.
Okay,
I'm
gotcha.
Listening to my two friends talk, and I can't yell at them, and I can't say anything. And I'm like, no, I disagree with that. So that's why I texted real quick. I'm like, how is this that? And I was like, okay, I'm just going to save it for the episode. But anyway, Jack, go ahead.
No, Aram calls me an egomaniac all the time, and yet here he is saying, like, you guys recorded a pod without me, and all I wanted to do was be on the pod. I just need my voice out there all the time.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
No, but I mean, the conversation that we had on the podcast, and Aram, like, corroborate this, is what, Peter, you gave Atlanta an A-. I gave them a B. You gave the Phillies a B+. I gave them an A-. I think the way we disagreed on the Phillies was I just applauded them for trying to attack every weakness, and I think they did a good job attacking every weakness. Where you dinged the Phillies was, yes, they attacked every weakness, but it probably wasn't the right guy in each
Exactly.
spot.
Like, I like that they addressed the bullpen. I thought they overpaid for a guy like Gregory Soto. I wouldn't have paid Craig Kimbrell at all. And the Matt Strahm move is decent. I love the Nick Anderson signing to a minor league free agent deal. I love the Joe Jimenez trade. So there was a lot more moves where, while the Phillies made splasher moves, they spent a lot more. And I look at the Braves team of the individual moves they make, and I like all of them better. There wasn't one move that I thought that the Braves lost or did bad in, when I can look at 3 or 4 of the Phillies moves and say, I didn't like that much. But again, B+ versus an A-.
No.
Splitting hairs a little bit.
You're also leaving out a very important addition. They got Noah Song. If he comes back from war.
Okay, so you're going to call me out on the podcast, and then you're going to change your tune.
No, here's what's happening right now. Peter doesn't support the troops, is what he's kind of saying right now.
No, okay, so I think you back it up well. And my only thing is, what we gave credit to the Rangers for, which was like, fuck it, not my money. Kind of got to give the Phillies credit for that to a degree, right? Like, fuck it, not my money on Trey Turner. That's one of the better players in Major League Baseball. Yeah. And exactly what they needed, I think. Speed, dynamic bat-to-ball guy as well. And then pitching-wise, like, we know how iffy the rotation was, and still kind of is beyond, the top 2. But now Taijuan Walker, like, yeah, they paid him way too much. But, like, he's still a huge upgrade for them in the rotation. And then I don't love the Kimbrell signing. I thought that was kind of meh. But I just felt like the Braves, like, if we're comparing Phillies Braves here, like, yes, the Braves did a great job on the Sean Murphy trade, and I think that was a great addition. But maybe the Phillies would have tried to make a splash there if they didn't already have the best catcher in Major League Baseball. But I feel like they addressed the shortstop spot with one of the best shortstops in Major League Baseball. They added a middle of the rotation starter. They did go get bullpen arms. I think Soto could be fine. Strom better, I think, in terms of value. And then Kimbrel, we'll see what that happens and what happens with that.
Kimbrel's
But
sick. It's
I was just trying to
2011.
understand, I guess,
Kimbrel's
what made the Braves offseason better when they're still going to start the year with Marcell Ozuna slated at DH, unless Jordan Luplow eats into those at-bats, and Eddie Rosario in left field. Like, I don't feel like they addressed everything. And bullpen moves are bullpen moves at the end of the day. Like, to me, that's a half a letter grade one way or another, unless you get like a legit dude. And they did lose Kenley for what that's worth.
So to that point, I felt like at least I was consistent with the way I'm grading it too. Because the Rangers I didn't put in the A- or the A range. I gave them a B+ too, kind of similar to the Phillies. So I look at each individual deal, and while they did go out and address things that they needed to do, I didn't love the way they addressed it. I thought they overpaid for Gregory Soto. I didn't like the Craig Kimbrel deal. And then you look at the Braves, like to your point, yes, DH, it might have to be Marcell Ozuna. Why not Travis d'Arnaud? Travis d'Arnaud was their catcher. Maybe he can move over to DH. That's a better bat too. So their only real weakness is left field, I understand. But it's kind of similar to the Yankees, right? Where left field is the weakness, but it's like they do have Eddie Rosario. It's not just they have nobody out there. And what I
also
thought,
lost Dansby Swanson. Like,
they did
we're talking about
lose
like what
Dansby
you
Swanson.
gain and what you lose.
But again, they could lose Dansby Swanson because you're pretty big on Vaughn Grissom, right?
I think
But
that's pretty
you can't
decent.
bank.
They're starting. We're talking about a team that everyone else just upgraded. You just subtracted that guy there, and then you added a catcher. For me, like, in terms of the infield, it's kind of a wash in terms of how much better or worse it might be.
Real quick, can I just add, you're saying that they overpaid for Gregory Soto, but I'm telling you, they paid for Gregory Soto and a guy in 2018 for the Texas Longhorns, had an 1170 OPS with 24 nukes in Cody Clemens. Yes, he has indie ball experience, but you know what? Not the end of the world. It's Cody Clemens, baby.
Listeners of the Just Baseball Show, you see what they're both doing to me? Instead of arguing, they're going off track. They're making jokes.
No, I'm on track. They lost
Arm's on track.
But both of you, all right? All right, we're
Arm's
getting
on
off
track.
track a little bit. We're getting
Okay,
back into
right
the
on
weeds
track.
here. Getting
They
back into the
lost
weeds.
Dansby Swanson. They lost Dansby Swanson, and at two premium power positions, they have bums. So now you lost, you're one of your best WAR players at shortstop. Yes, you add Sean Murphy, and now we're talking about their backup catcher is the DH, and we're giving them an A-. I think that's a reach.
It's resulting their backup catcher. It's Travis d'Arnaud, who objectively was one of the better hitting catchers in all of Major League Baseball. I'm curious also, he's always been a good hitter in his career. Can he transition if he's not catching 3 or 4 days a week? Will he end up being a better hitter too? I think the Braves think he can. I think he can. And I would ask you, if you were the Braves, would you rather have Dansby Swanson next year or Sean Murphy and Vaughn Grissom? I'd rather have Sean Murphy and Vaughn Grissom. Of course, you'd rather have both.
Which
but
would,
then
which
would
would
you
earn
have
them
given
an A-?
Would you have given the 177 million for Dansby? Because that's what it would have cost.
Maybe. I mean, it's not my money. That's the thing. I wouldn't
Yeah.
give three. I wouldn't give 300 million for Trey Turner right now, but I'd rather have him. Not my money.
And that's not how the way I was grading it is. I understand that. I even left the only team where I felt that was okay to do was the Mets, because Steve Cohen has $58 trillion.
But that's so selective. It's so because he's richer. Like, I
Are
don't
the Braves
understand
publicly
how-
traded?
Because it doesn't matter as much to an owner like Steve Cohen. But I'm still
The
factoring
Braves
that
are
in.
publicly owned, basically.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to the Braves.
I look at each individual deal and I say, do I like that deal or
Except
not? It's
for the
just a
Mets.
difference in how we grade them too.
Except for the Mets.
Yeah.
I liked all the Mets deals.
Yeah. Well, I also liked all the Mets deals, but there was some that I didn't love, but objectively,
It's
Steve
selective.
Cohen is worth like 5 times as much as any owner. So I did give him a little bit of leeway where his money doesn't matter as much as the other owners.
The Mets, it's overkill. Like, it's too much overkill to not be an A+. Like, imagine you already have a transcendent superstar talent that'll go down as a top 10 player of all time in DeAndre Ayton. And then you also add a fine point guard in Chris Paul. And then you also have Devin Booker. And then you add a really good 3-and-D guy in Kevin Durant, right? Like, it's overkill. They're going to be
3-and-D guy.
excellent. Hey, how about you, Darvish, getting paid until he knows AARP? Age 42 season is when his contract's going to be up. 6 years, $108 million extension handed out by GOAT King Preller. This was really interesting from Passon. This is Darvish's third 6-year deal of his career. Signed a 6-year. It's crazy. He signed a 6-year deal in Texas. He signed a 6-year deal in Chicago. And then he just agreed to a 6-year extension with San Diego. That's wild.
I didn't have much of a reaction to the deal either. 6 years, $108 million for a guy who at the end of the deal is going to be 42 years old. But it seems like even Yu Darvish too, he's not losing a step. I mean, he's still just been a great pitcher for the last 4 years. It's a lot, but it's the Padres too. So I don't know. I didn't have much of a reaction to it other than I think for the first 3 years, it's still going to be good. And I do see Darvish aging better than a lot of other pitchers that would possibly be in his age range.
Yeah.
What do you think, Arm?
It's wild though. I think you're right, Peter, because like, I mean, you talk about not really slowing down. Like last year was one of his best seasons. I mean, he threw 194 in 2/3 innings, so he doesn't look like he's slowing down. And actually, his average velocity was up about a half a mile per hour. So I think the Padres very, very much thought this through and said, hey, I think this is going to age pretty well. And I really believe that they were more willing to eat the money on the back end to have a lower average annual value to be able to retain maybe a Manny Machado, Juan Soto, maybe both. We'll see if they'll be able to do that. But I think the extra years on the back end just helps them with a lower AAV here. And we know that there's some rumblings that Machado may be more willing to sign an extension now, which I think they're going to be trying to work out next.
And a note from Mark Feinsand, front-loaded deal. He's getting $30 million this year, and it'll continue to escalate down. That was my immediate follow-up question. It wasn't like, my first reaction was like, oh my God, he's going to be 42. Like, that's crazy. Only Verlander and Scherzer should get paid like that. Yu Darvish is not a Hall of Famer. He should not be getting paid like Justin Verlander, who just won a Cy Young at age 40, and Max Scherzer. But the second reaction was, well, what does it look like? Because they're going to go after Soto long-term. They're going to go after Machado long-term. If they strike out on one or both of them, you know damn well they're going to go after Ohtani long-term. What's the structure like? Is it going to clip them a little bit? And the answer is no. So that was good foresight, knowing that you can pay a bit more now and have it, almost escalate down, de-escalate was the word I was looking for as a podcast host. You can have that number de-escalate as you severely escalate other numbers for Soto, Machado, or another big star.
Mm-hmm. And also this team had a lot of pitching uncertainty moving forward. Like this would have been a rotation that in the next couple of years, I mean, they did a good job of locking up Musgrove, but and then
two of them now.
Yeah. What's Snell's deal?
Snell's up after this year, is he not?
Yeah. So, I mean, they've got a lot of uncertainty looming. This locks them in for a couple more years. And I really don't think Preller gives a shit about 2023. I mean, excuse me, like 2029. I just don't think he cares.
He might not even be the Padres general manager in 2029.
No, he'll already get, I think once he gets his ring, he's out.
When J.R. Smith, when shit goes south for the J.R. Smith, the front office execs, he's out, man.
He's done. But I like it overall. It gives them some continuity, and we'll see if Yu Darvish still pitches well at age 41, 42.
I don't got anything else.
Blake Snell, $16 million this year that he's off the books. You can rely on Brent Honeywell, though, to be the third starter.
Mackenzie Gore?
Jay Groom? No, Gore is.
He's on the Nationals.
Oh, yeah, that's
for the Juan Soto deal.
He's in purgatory.
Remember that deal?
Yeah, that was crazy. All right, let's jump into the NL Central here. We're grading every team's offseason. We've been going division by division, and we'll go through the National League Central as it stands right now. Where do I have it? I have it right here. Let's start with the St. Louis Cardinals. They signed Wilson Contreras in free agency, 5 years, $87.5 million. He's the heir to the Yadier Molina throne. Nolan Arenado, this is a big one that I feel like a lot of people, it registered when he did it, but now it's not really registering as an offseason move. Nolan Arenado opted in to the remaining 5 years, $144 million of his deal. Yeah, A
Made
plus.
an A+ just for somehow convincing that man to opt into that deal. I have no idea.
No, it's just grit. He's the heart of St.
Yeah.
Louis. Like, hey, you can be a leader. Opt in. Okay. You re-sign Adam Wainwright 1 year, 17.5 mil. You select Wilking Rodriguez in the Rule 5 draft. The Cardinals also signed Tres Barrera and Oscar Mercado as minor league free agents, and you lose Jose Quintana and Corey Dickerson to free agency, Albert Pujols and Yadi Molina to retirement. Aram, you first. How'd you see it?
Well, I know that something that we've all baked into our grades here is, what should they have done and did they do it? And that's going to be the theme, I think. I know Peter has as much frustration, if not more, in regards to this on the pitching side, because we've both talked about it a ton. It's just like, at what point do you want to push the chips forward here and just go get another established starter? Like, I know you're the Cardinals and you do your own thing, and they've had success this way. But I'll start with Wilson Contreras. I think that was exactly what they needed. I don't trust Ivan Herrera. I think he's a decent prospect, but you can't roll that guy out there if you're serious about winning right now. You don't roll the dice with your catching position. You look at the rest of the rotation, though. We've talked about it. We've highlighted the uncertainty there, and we've highlighted all of the concerns. I just would have loved to have seen them go get a Pablo Lopez, go get somebody like that was potentially available in the trade market or in free agency. I know we talk about Chris Bassett kind of being like a whatever signing. I would have been refreshed to see them get a Chris Bassett in there. Like, this team doesn't need an ace. They just need another arm that you can rely on, because clearly bullpen's great and they know how to piece it together. So I love the Contreras move. I love the fact that they somehow convinced Nolan Arenado to come back, and to not opt out. But when we're looking at the rest of the team and what they did or didn't do, I find it hard to give them much better than. I'm swaying back and forth between a C+ and a B-. I think C+ is a little bit too negative. I'm gonna go B- with the Arenado opt-in.
Damn it.
It's so funny to hear you talk, Arm, because you just said everything I was prepared to say. I'm at like an 80% for them, like B-, C+ for the Cardinals. Again, big fan of the Wilson Contreras move. Was it a little bit too much money? Probably, but it's not my money, right? No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I do think that overall they needed a catcher and they got the best one available. Yep. Maybe instead of trading for Sean Murphy, we could argue for hours over who's better, but one of the better catchers in Major League Baseball, especially something that's not being talked about Wilson Contreras, is if we ever get robo-umps, which could be in the next 2, we're seeing it plenty in the minor leagues.
Like, you've got ABS now.
A guy like Wilson Contreras' value could tick up even, because now it's more reliant on the bat, more reliant on him throwing out runners with the bases getting bigger. So Wilson Contreras could actually give you more value than he has even when he was younger. It's like just a change in the rules that actually could get more value for Wilson Contreras. But
he's definitely candidate number 1, I think, or like one of the first candidates to really benefit, because he's somebody that's really good at everything else. So
yeah, we could see a career resurgence. Resurgence from Salvador Perez, someone like that. Where
I was going to say, I got Sal Perez on line 1.
Yeah,
someone
Perez
like that.
Number 1.
But if you didn't harp on the pitching stuff, I would have. Like, I could just yell about it. I've been yelling. I'm almost tired at this point of yelling at John Mozeliak and the Cardinals to trade from their enormous surplus of prospects to go get one or sign one, because you're the Cardinals and you make so much money. And Jack pointed to the fact of the I guess the TV station or the people in their city that watch the most baseball.
Yeah, when you look at RSN Regional Sports Network ranking, like ratings, the Cardinals have the largest share. Like, the Yankees have the largest gross population of people that watch Yankee games because it's in New York City. But in terms of market share, like what people in the St. Louis market are watching, I mean, they have the highest share. Like, if you live in St. Louis, chances are you're watching Cardinal baseball.
I think that's the default. When you turn the TV on, it's just automatically on a Cardinals game.
Yeah, easy.
Which is fire. I would love that. No, but yeah, so what I'm saying is I'll give them a B- because I do like the Wilson Contreras trade, but it ain't going above that because they didn't address the clear need, which is starting pitching, Jack.
You guys just screwed me. You screwed me. You both went B-.
We talk about the same thing once a week on this podcast.
It's a B-. That's the problem. That's where you guys screwed me. Like, when we pump out the graphic tomorrow, it's going to say B-, B-.
Why do you think I opened this up with just a absolute like just firing bullets at my guy Pete because I was like, we
Yeah.
need to change this shit up.
We need
keep
to be
agreeing on
bland as
something.
shit.
I finally found something I didn't agree on. I'm gonna lean into it.
I
It's
love
funny though.
it.
I got
I
a
want it.
DM. I know. I know you wanted good radio, so I've been waiting, and finally, I wasn't gonna force it. That was my moment. I got a DM from my buddy who follows our account, doesn't know anything about baseball. His name's Jake, and his first DM was in regards to the graphic. He goes, you can copy my homework, but don't make it too obvious. When it was like our grades that were super close. And then he sent your guys' grades on the last one and literally was just like, okay, this is getting out of hand. I was like, dude, we kind of agree on this stuff. I don't know what to tell you, but Jack, B-.
Yeah, we're trying. Like B-.
We're trying.
They got better with the Wilson thing. I don't know how you convince Arenado to opt into that, but we've been talking about starting pitching. The only thing that we haven't really talked about is I would have loved for them to go and get another setup guy, especially after you non-tender Alex Reyes. While I do love what they have in Helsley and Gallegos and Genesis Cabrera, and if Jordan Hicks figures it out again, I like that, but I wouldn't mind another high leverage possibility for them.
I agree. And Palante as well.
They got one. I don't know why you guys don't listen to me. Wilking
Rodriguez.
Wilking Rodriguez is a setup, man. You'll find out very soon.
Okay, fine. So B- is across the board. The Milwaukee Brewers acquire William Contreras, Justin Yeager, and Joel Payamps in a 3-team deal. The only notable prospect they let go in that 3-team deal that was centered around Sean Murphy to Atlanta was Esteury Ruiz. They acquired Jesse Winker and Abraham Toro from Seattle for Colton Wong. They grab Adam Seminaris, Jansen Junk, and Elvis Peguero from the Angels for Hunter Renfroe. They sign Arms guy Brian Anderson as a minor league free agent, Wade Miley to a 1-year, $4.5 million deal. They acquire Javi Guerra and Owen Miller from Tampa and Cleveland, respectively, for players to be named later. They grab Bryce Wilson for cash. They lose Taylor Rogers, Brad Boxberger, Jace Peterson, Omar Narvaez, and Andrew McCutchen in free agency. This team is all over the fucking place.
I thought they did pretty well.
Yes.
They're all over the place.
Yeah.
Brewers.
Yes. I love it. Thank you.
The William Contreras deal, like getting him for Esteury Ruiz, like he might hit 30 bombs last year. Aram talked about him as like kind of one of the underrated power hitters moving into next year. And I love that take. I totally agree with him. I thought they made a lot of smart moves. I still think that getting Jansen Junk for Hunter Renfroe and like all those guys, like I think it'll end up working okay for him. They made a lot of under the radar moves, but I didn't look at any particular move and say that was a bad deal. I'm going B+ for the Milwaukee Brewers. I thought they did pretty damn well.
God damn it. I think that's what I'm going to do too. Okay, so I'll fill in where you left off, and it's funny. You just gave a nod to one of the things I brought up in the past podcast. I'll give a nod to something that you brought up that I agree with here. They didn't need Colton Wong. Colton Wong's a really nice player, but Colton Wong was not exactly what they needed on this team at this point. And I think they needed a little bit more power. They knew that, and they needed somebody like Jesse Winker potentially as a bounce back candidate. And especially when you have Bryce Turang, who I will continue to sing the praises for. If you don't believe me, you can go check out my thread on him or my article on him. I spent way too much time on Bryce Turang, but he's a guy that I think could pretty quickly and almost immediately replace what you got from Colton Wong, and give you maybe even better defense, which is crazy to say, and really good stolen base ability. So you can just basically plug in, I think, a comparable second baseman and flip that other second baseman for help. Just another guy that can add some power. William Contreras, I love what he brings to the table. Winker in that hitter-friendly environment, hopefully can kind of rediscover that great American ballpark success that he had and not play the outfield. He can be more of a DH. What I really liked both those moves. And what I like most about this offseason, it's a little bit of an abstract thing that's going to push their grade up for me, is that they made their team better for next year, but they also cleared the way for the young guys. So it was this balance of like not getting worse and staying competitive while also still, being focused on trying to be better soon. So, that's something that I thought was a really good balance and a reason why I'm in on a B+ for them too, because I thought they addressed everything they really needed to address. They made some of the lower end depth moves, and I think Brian Anderson's a good bounce back candidate as a bench guy for them. He can play third base, he can play the outfield, and he's got power. He's a good defender. It's just another guy in the fold here. This is a pretty good team. I like them this year.
Please disagree, Jack.
Let's play a game. Who would you rather have in the outfield? Hunter Renfroe or Weimer or Frelick or Mitchell?
Next year,
Just for the future.
I mean,
Probably
the answer's clear. For me, I'd rather have the youngsters.
Yeah, I'd rather have the youngsters.
I'd rather have the youngsters too. Who would you rather have behind the plate, William Contreras or Omar Narvaez?
William Contreras, and I'm
William
not
Contreras.
even
Talk
fucking
about
blinking.
the framing benefit too.
Yeah.
At this point, who would you rather have at second base? Aram, looking at you, Bryce Terang, or Colton Wong for $10 million more?
It's a no freaking brainer. Terang.
I mean, A-.
Wow. Love it. I love it.
I think this team
Go A+.
We had Xavier Scruggs on, and this was at the height of like everything happening free agency wise. And, we were saying bye to Scruggs, and he goes, wait, one more thing. I think Corbin Burns gets traded. Like that was the point that we were at in the offseason with Milwaukee when like they were starting to move everybody. Like this was right after the Renfroe thing, and they let everybody walk in free agency, and they hadn't really added any pieces yet. So we were like, okay, especially after the Hader deal at last year's deadline, they're going to start breaking it down. And then all of a sudden they don't break it down. And I think that they're a much better team this year than they were last year. And I think that they're a more exciting team, and they've got exponentially more control of guys that are going to be getting at bats and making starts for them. As of right now, the 5 in that rotation is Wade Miley. I don't think it's going to be Wade Miley. I think it's going to be Aaron Ashby or Hauser or Gasser or who's got the shoulder?
Ashby.
When
Not
did that
good.
happen?
A couple days ago, maybe even
What
2 days ago.
How did I miss that?
Yeah, because you're focusing on like Sadiq Bey on Twitter, and I'm trying to reply to you being like,
that was
focus
crazy.
on the Just Baseball show.
Bays in Atlanta.
Yeah,
Hawks.
inefficient first round picks. It's fatigue though. It's not a huge issue, but like that's a guy that now like we were talking about how he might be better in the rotation, maybe, and now it seems like with the injury issues and actually the fact that he was better statistically as a reliever. Now I wonder if they're going to keep him in the bullpen. But Gasser, definitely an option. I think they've got a few other options potentially that they could bring up at some point. But
They got
that's the one
Hauser.
spot
They got
that-
Bryce Wilson waiting right now.
But we also act like Wade Miley's just chopped liver. It's not that bad.
Yeah, he's not.
He's a
worst
5-starter. He's going to be fine.
Yeah,
I mean, if he's my 5-starter, like on any, would you rather have Wade Miley or Bailey Falter?
I'd rather have Wade Miley, and I'll tell you this: you get out of the ballpark quick in a Wade Miley start. That guy speed runs baseball.
He's
It's
your
awesome.
modern day Mark Burley. You just
Yeah,
like Miami Marlins Mark Burley.
Okay, so I take it back. I didn't know about
He's all
Ashby
right.
shoulder thing. Wade Miley, excellent 5-starter. He's my new favorite
excellent.
player. A+, A- for me with the Milwaukee Brewers. So you both give them B+. I give them an A-. The Chicago Cubs. I wrote signed like 20 times here. Signed Dansby Swanson in free agency, 7 years, $177 million. Signed Cody Bellinger to 1 year, 17.5 after being non-tendered. They signed Jamison Tyone, 4 for $68 million. They signed Tucker Barnhart to be the starting catcher, 2 for $6.5 million. They signed Trey Mancini, 2 for $14 million. They signed Eric Hosmer to a league minimum deal. They signed Brad Boxberger to 1 for $2.8. They claimed Julian Merriweather off waivers from Toronto. They re-signed Drew Smiley, 2 for $19. They signed Luis Torrens as a minor league free agent. He's almost a third catcher. You lose Wilson Contreras, Wade Miley, and Jason Hayward to free agency. This team added a shit ton. They didn't really lose much, man.
Did you
They
mention
lost
that
Wilson
traded-
Contreras. They lost
traded
Wilson
for
Contreras.
Miles Mastrobuoni? Did you mention that?
They traded for Miles Mastrobuoni, but isn't. I did not mention that they traded for Mastrobuoni. You're right.
That's a big one to miss.
Is it?
No.
Okay.
No, not at all. Yeah, they lost Wilson Contreras. That's you're going from Wilson Contreras to Tucker Barnhart.
Hurts.
Not great. Hurts. And then you get Dansby Swanson, sure. But like I kind of liked Nico Horner at short. I'm not gonna knock them for getting Dansby. I'm gonna support a team that has been middling over the last couple of years, spending money to get better. Like
Not your money.
In a nutshell, this camp, yeah, they spent money. It's gonna be a passing grade, but like a lot of these signings felt like almost like they had to hit a quota. It's if you're like a member at this is something I found out recently, which I think is the dumbest thing in the world. If you're a member at a country club, even though you pay your membership dues, you got to pay like you got to spend a minimum amount of money a year, or else they'll just bill you that amount anyways. And I almost felt like that's what the Cubs were doing. So like if you don't hit that quota, like you don't hit that amount at the end of the year, like you're gonna go and just get really expensive dinners because you're gonna have to pay it anyways. Like that's what I felt like the Cubs did here. It was like they almost felt like they had to spend more money to show that they're trying to compete and show that they're, putting something out there that is going to be better than what we saw last year. But sometimes it just felt like they were just signing guys to sign guys. How much better does Dansby Swanson really make you when you're moving moving Nico Hoerner off? Makes him better, but that much better, 177 million better? Probably not. Cody Bellinger, I love the bounce back option there, but at the end of the day, it's a 1-year deal. If he bounces back, he's gone. So I don't really totally get that one. They go get Jameson Taillon. Sure. What does he do for you? He makes your rotation slightly better. Your rotation's still not good. So to me, it was like a little bit of lipstick on a pig. But I support them getting better, I guess.
So what does that mean letter-wise? I'll get ahead of it. I said C+.
Okay, you're a little bit lower than I was, and I think Aram was probably leaning towards the B- to B range. And this is one of the tougher off seasons to grade. I think it might be the toughest off season to actually grade, because the way I graded, it's going all over the place. I like to look at, first of all, what did you need? Second of all, not only what did you need, but were the individual deals themselves good? And then where does it put you in terms of the rest of the market? I didn't love really any of the deals outside of getting Dansby Swanson, because I do think it makes them better. And I do think it was maybe a slight overpay, but I believe that Dansby may not be a 6-WAR player, but can be a 4-WAR player for a good portion of the contract, making it okay. But I thought Taillon is slightly overpaid, but then again, it's the market. I don't love the Cody Bellinger bounce back. If the Dodgers didn't want him anymore, I don't have full faith in the Cubs making him an actual bounce back candidate. I think it sounds good because he was the MVP and there probably is something left in the tank, but I think he's been battling injuries and it's messed up his swing, and I don't know if he's ever going to be the same. And you did lose Wilson Contreras. So I don't think they won 74 games last year. I don't see them winning above like 76, 77 games. I'm going to go with a flat B-.
Yeah, so I like the Mancini edition. I think he's going to do better this year. I really think he's going to be a nice offensive piece. I almost want to dock them for the Hosmer signing. Like legitimately subtraction by addition.
It's stupid.
It's stupid. I'm going to go B- though, because at the end of the day, they spent money, they got better. And they put themselves in a position where they don't want to block some of these guys coming up. So they got better, didn't block the guys. I'll give them the B- there too.
But didn't they kind of block Pete Crow Armstrong instead
No,
by
because
getting
it's a
Bellinger?
1-year deal.
Yeah, no, I'm curious.
1-year deal.
But you're going to play
PC's
Bellinger.
probably 2 years away.
Is he? Okay, I didn't know his how far he was.
Yeah, he's probably two away.
He's going to start the year in double and probably spend the whole year there, right?
think
He might
he'll
even
be-
start the year in high A. Yeah.
Do you think he'll
He
be
might start
up in
high.
September?
I
No,
don't think so.
No. Okay. There you go.
no. The reason I go C+ and not B- is, okay, Dansby, we've talked about Dansby Swanson ad nauseum, right? We've said, this guy, he's done it once, right? Let's see him do it again. I'm not docking him for that. Tucker Barnhart, going from Wilson Contreras to Tucker Barnhart is brutal.
Yeah, Cubs fans are acting like it didn't matter. I put out a TikTok and I got a lot of backlash. Now I'm apparently a Cubs hater, which happens.
You've always been
on
a Cubs
social
hater.
media. Yeah, always
Yeah,
been a Cubs
you
hater. Even though my dad grew up a Cubs fan, been to Wrigley Field, favorite ballpark, whatever. I'm a Cubs hater this year.
Whatever.
I noted that losing Wilson Contreras is a tough blow to this team, and a lot of Cubs fans didn't think it mattered that much, and I just agree to disagree with them. I thought he was your best player last year, and he might be your best player this year if you kept him.
That's what I was going to say. Who is that much better than Wilson Contreras on the roster presently?
I guess
Dansby, I
Dansby.
guess.
Yeah, like that's it.
Dansby.
And we'll see.
That's it. Bellinger, people are all of a sudden like calling Bellinger a successful ad. Like Bellinger was not even league average. Like he's been one of the worst hitters
Could be a
in
total
the
waste of
league.
money.
He could be a total waste of money.
That's what I'm saying.
$17.5 million for a guy that could be not worth a roster spot is insane to me.
Yeah.
Agreed. I totally
mean,
agree.
so-
I didn't like a lot of the individual deals, like sort of similar to the Phillies in that way, but I like the Phillies offseason better. But looking at each individual deal, did I like it? Like, I only like a few of the Cubs signings, and they made like 15 of them.
And I hope Dansby's a 6-win guy again. He might be a 2.5-win guy this year.
You
Like
never
that.
know.
That's a
Yeah.
possibility for him. He strikes out a lot.
I could even be wrong about Dansby, and then it would make the grade even worse. Like, that's one of the reasons why I'm giving them some leeway, because I'm a Dansby believer. It could easily blow up in my face, and Dansby is back to hitting 260 with 25 home runs. The defense doesn't look the same, and he ends up being a 2.8 WAR guy. And you're like, wow, we're locked in for a while.
The only two guys that I look at this and say unequivocally good job is Mancini at that money and Boxberger at 1 year, $3 million.
Boxberger's the only one I like.
Yeah, I think the Mancini was great. The Mancini ad was great.
I'm not even a big believer in his as much. Like, as you guys are.
At Wrigley, like I don't know, man. I think he plays. You can protect him from right-handed pitching. Yeah.
Last thing I wanted to mention, positive on the Cubs side, I thought they did a really good job at the deadline. I know that doesn't count here, but they didn't do as great in the offseason, but I loved the Wisniewski addition. I love the Ben Brown pickup in a trade of David Robertson. Like, they did a lot of good little things. And then Marlins legend Nick Neidert picked up as a free agent.
Wow.
Maybe a really good number 8 type starter that you can plug in.
Right.
So, I like that. I like that depth piece too.
We can breeze through these next two. I do want to spend a bit more time on Cincinnati than I do Pittsburgh, although Pittsburgh had a decent offseason. Cincinnati signed Will Myers to a 1 year, $7.5 million deal. That is the second largest contract on the Cincinnati Reds, only behind Joey Votto's $225 million deal.
That was a good tweet. Tweeting about baseball. Man. Love that tweet.
Thanks, man. All right. Will Myers, 1 year, $7.5. You acquire Kevin Newman from Pittsburgh for Dauri Moreta. You signed Kurt Casale, 1 year, $3.25. You signed Luke Maile as a free agent, $1.175 million. Signed Luke Weaver, 1 for $2 million. You signed Chad Pinder, Nick Plummer, and Marlins and White Sox legend Tyrone Guerrero as minor league free agents. You move Kyle Farmer for Casey Legumina. You acquire Nick Solak for cash. You lose Donovan Solano and Mike Minor to free agency. I'm burying the lead. They went and grabbed an outfielder, everybody. They grabbed Will Benson from Cleveland for Justin Boyd and cash. Will Benson had a really tough audition for the Guardians at the end of last year, but this guy had a 150 WRC plus in AAA last year. First round pedigree. He's built like an NFL tight end. I think this guy can mash at Great American Ballpark.
Arm, you want to go ahead?
Loved this trade. I loved this trade, dude. It might not work, right? He might never hit enough, but I love the upside here. You trade your second round pick, who's an outfielder, by the way, who's you just drafted in 2022. This is a Reds team that's trying to get better in the next 2 years. They have no outfielders imminently helping them in the next year or two, unless it's an infielder that they move to the outfield. And Benson's big league ready now. Crazy amount of power. He's hit so many home runs through the minors. Big strikeout issues. Then all of a sudden last year, improved his zone contact by 10% and continued to just improve the walk rates. He chases as little as anybody you're going to find. So he's kind of 3 true outcome type of player, but he's a 3 true outcome guy with speed that's going to steal 15 bags. He can play all 3 outfield spots, and he's got major power. So I love this pickup for them because he's instantly their most exciting outfielder, and could be one of their more impactful young players. He's still just 24 years old. So I love that pickup for them. Definitely gives their offseason a little bit more of a bump, even though it's not the sexiest move. But this is a Reds team that, is still kind of rebuilding. So I'm kind of interested to see where you guys are at on the grade.
Was this this Will Benson trade? Did it feel weird to you guys? Was there any part of you that perked up like your goosebumps? Was there anything about the trade? Because here's the way I took it. First of all, I was like, why would the Guardians do that? I mean, what a steal, right? I saw the minor league numbers, like you see the potential there, and you're like,
they're backed
up.
They
could get rid. But then I'm like, it came from the Guardians, right? One of these teams who's incredible with development. They don't trade their young players who they really like, and they just kind of dumped him. I got a weird feeling where Will Benson's never going to hit, and that red 2022 outfielder is going to be great. What do you mean? No. Let's not pretend that that's very possible.
Don't Brian Windhorst. How about this? Like, think about what are the Utah Jazz doing here? Like, don't give me the Brian Windhorst tinfoil hat bullshit here. Will Benson is unlike Guardians prospects, right? They want bat to ball, do things incredibly well, like intangibles out the ass outfielders. They don't really have 3 true outcome guys. Will Benson is a 3 true outcome guy. He just doesn't really fit. And there are a bunch of outfielders in that organization that are better than Will Benson for them and for the organization that they want to have. So he was surplus.
This was the second time that they've traded a high power, high swing and miss former first round pick.
It's the other
Jones.
Nolan Jones
too. And I still like that pickup for another team. I really do, because I thought the same thing, Peter, in terms of like, why would they do this? I started to look at the 40-man situation too. And I think it was really to open up the 40-man, and kind of like the way the Guardians have been able to develop outfielders lately. I think they're accepting that they may lose on this one, right? Because the Rays, like, it was the same thing, right? Where they've traded some arms to shed for, 40-man space. And most of the time they pick the right guy to move, but they also traded Joe Ryan. So I think that there's a chance, but for the Guardians, they're playing the percentages and they're like, we know that Will Brennan's going to be good, at least very solid. Oscar Gonzalez, we've seen enough. Stephen Kwan, we've seen enough. Richie Palacios is another guy that plays all over. They like his floor. And George Valera is a higher ceiling guy than Benson. So, and probably the only 3 true outcome guy they're going to deal with because of how high his upside is. So,
and probably young Kenzie Noel.
Getting rid of any volatility. Noel's like not even an outfielder. Noel's a DH, and I bet you they'll trade him. I guarantee you they'll trade him at some point too as he gets closer. But he's not eligible, or he's on the 40-man too. So I guess they preferred Noel, who's younger and more power.
This is a pretty good baseball podcast. We just went 10 minutes on Will Benson trade. Who's like who might making it back this year? No, I love it. But at the end of the day, they did fine. Like
that's what I give them too.
They didn't really do much. They got Will Benson, a lot of upside there. Could strike out 40% of the time and be terrible. Like, could.
Nick Plummer was a freaky athlete in his day.
I mean, this is a C. They did not anyone fun.
Yeah, they got Plummer and Benson.
2 first rounders.
Okay.
So Aram, what do you give them?
Yeah. An A.
I was dead set on a C, but Will Benson might put them to a C plus.
Yes. All right. There we go. C. Peter C. Me C. Aram C plus.
So you're a C too, Jack?
Yeah, I'm a C. Like,
okay.
You got to take a step back and look at this from like the league wide perspective, and it's like, look at the Reds. Like, who gives a shit?
We're also the one national
baseball
baseball podcast that gets unreasonably excited about the Reds, and I'm like, one of my big preseason bets might be the Reds over win total or the Pirates over win total. But I think objectively, you compare it to the rest of the league, like Will Myers, he might suck. He might rake. He might suck. That was the big deal. Like, you know what? C minus.
Oh,
okay.
C minus. Okay, can I say one last thing?
Yes.
Luke Weaver had a great second half last year.
Dude. We are going to fade him so hard at Great American Ballpark on a Wednesday against the Cubs.
You and Jack just don't know ball, I guess. Yeah. Cincinnati Reds are a blind spot for you.
No ball. The Pittsburgh Pirates. They sign Andrew McCutchen. They bring him home 1 year, $5 million. They sign Carlos Santana 1 for 7-ish. They sign Austin Hedges 1 for $5 million. Harleen Garcia 1 for 2.5. Rich Hill 1 for 8. Vince Velasquez 1 for 3.15 million. They grabbed G-Man Choi. Great hype videos for Velasquez and for Rich Hill. They acquired G-Man Choi in a roster crunch for Tampa for Jack Hartman, a minor league pitcher. They acquire Dowry Moretta for Kevin Newman. They acquire Connor Joe for Nick Garcia. They select Jose Hernandez, lefty that was in the Dodgers org in the Rule 5. They claim Ryan Valade off waivers from Colorado. They lost Roberto Perez and Ben Gamble to free agency. A lot of minor stuff going on here, but a lot of stuff going on here. I think I'm just more excited for the stuff that was previously on the roster. And these are good time buyers. B minus.
I give him a C plus. Nothing better than the Reds. I like a lot of what are we talking about? I think the Pirates signed baseball players.
Yes, they did.
I don't hate any of them except Vince Velasquez.
That's fine. And Hedges. I'm not a Hedges guy.
I'm a Hedges guy. I think he had some value there, and I love the fact that he's going to come in and teach the Andy Rodriguez's of the world and the Henry Davises of the world. I like him there. Is he going to hit? No, but I don't even care. That's not what they're signing him to do anyway. C+. That seems wrong, but that's all I have for you.
Just wait till Cal joins forces with him in Pittsburgh. It's going to be electric.
Elite. No, he ain't leaving the Guardians. He's going to be a
I know.
Yankee. They're going to give him $300 million because he's
That'd
Him
be
and
sick.
Cole.
guess what? Since 2021, Cal Quantrill's 14th in ERA in Major League Baseball.
Pretty good.
That's pretty good. Talk about a leaderboard right there.
Suck
Yeah.
it. Above Luis
So-
Castillo. You think Luis Castillo is good? Cal Quantrill's better
No.
at limiting runs
Yeah.
That's the name of the game. That's
Gives up
ball,
less
baby.
runs.
and more wins.
If you
And
think,
more wins than Luis Castillo. He's
if you
23
think Cal
and 8.
Quantrill's mid, you don't know ball.
You don't know
Yeah,
ball.
You don't know ball.
You don't know ball.
That's yeah. As you can tell, I looked at the TikTok comments recently, so that's all. Don't know ball is the common phrase. G-Man Choi, he really isn't very good. I don't think.
No, he's not.
I'm pissed that they didn't let him play in the World Baseball Classic. He was devastated. I know he was hurt and whatever, but like, are you that worried about G-Man Choi re-aggravating something to the point that you're not going to let him go play for his country? He's devastated about it. Like, let's be real. If G-Man Choi gets hurt, like, that'd be a shame. It'd be really unfortunate. But like, does it really matter for the Pirates? Like, I know that they're paying him, but like,
No,
if he
you
wants
got
to play in the
Carlos
World Baseball
Santana.
Classic, let him play in the World Baseball Classic for his country. I just don't understand that.
Carlos
Andrew
Santana's
McCutchen-
better.
Carlos Santana might be better.
I think he's
Exactly.
better.
He is better. He
He is
walks
better.
at least.
Yeah.
I
McCutchen.
love the McCutchen signing. I mean, like, from a baseball standpoint, like, whatever, I don't know, but it is just so awesome. So it's a great move. He's not done. He could still give you a little bit. Connor Joe, he might be better than G-Man Choi when it's all said and done. Rich Hill, I love the potential trade chip here, right? Anybody will be happy if he's throwing well. You know, if he's in the low fours, a lot of teams will be very happy to acquire a vet like Rich Hill to kind of help them have some pitching depth there. I liked the Harlan signing because that's someone that they'll probably trade to. When I'm looking at these teams, I'm like, what kind of assets did you flippable assets did you pick up? And I think they picked up quite a few flippable assets. So I will give them a C+ for emotion, you know, the emotional proponent of it. Like, because of the Andrew McCutchen vibe, that gives them a C+. Good for baseball to have Andrew McCutchen back in Pittsburgh.
Arm and I completely on the same page. C+. Jack, round us
There we
out
go.
with another C+.
No, I said B-. I said
Okay.
B- because
What?
they found some
That's
decent
crazy.
stopgaps. All right.
I thought I was reaching at a C+.
No, man, I go B-. I got to run. Taylor Davis and I are doing a conversation with D. Gordon that you can hear right now on Show and Go. Wherever you get your podcast, it'll be up on YouTube shortly. Peter, I will, save all of the plugs. They're all in the show notes, the merch, all that stuff. Real quick, who wins the Super Bowl? I want the team name and nothing else.
Chiefs.
Okay. Aram?
I think Chiefs, and now that I know Peter's done way more research than me, so I'm pumped that he's on it too.
I got
Yeah.
a future on the Chiefs, but the Eagles might win. I don't
Oh
know.
God, that was the worst
Yeah.
thing you could.
I know. It's terrible.
Damn. Unfortunately,
But-
I'm on Chiefs too.
And you can listen to Not Gambling Advice. Colby and I broke it down as well as a bunch of props.
Yes, all the
Yes.
props. I'm gonna be listening. I need all the props. I lose so much money every year just taking 30 props. So pump for that.
I need all the props. Enjoy Super Bowl Sunday. And with that, Peter.
Thank you, everybody.